scoot over. Good afternoon, residents of Everett, Washington. I'd like to call to order the Everett City Council meeting of June 22nd, 2022, and welcome everyone back in the City Council chambers. The council is conducting our weekly council meeting in a hybrid mode. This will allow us to reach members of our community who wish to participate via Zoom or those who wish to attend in person in the chambers today. It is our hope to continue this format to be as accessible as possible to our community. For those who wish to participate via Zoom, you may find the public comment registration form on the City of Everett website under the City Council Department. And once you select the Register Here to provide comment via Zoom link, you'll fill out the form completely, and that will be to provide comment at a future public meeting. After the public comment form is submitted, you'll receive an email confirmation with the Zoom link and the phone number to the meeting, and participants must submit the form at least 30 minutes prior to each meeting. Forms submitted after that time will not receive the Zoom link or phone number to speak, but may still participate the day of the meeting by coming in person to the council chambers. You can show up at any time during the meeting at that time. Please note, we do not allow comments on any kind of campaigning, whether for or against ballot measures or candidates running for office. We also do not accept comments focused on personal matters that are unrelated to city business. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mayor Franklin.
Here.
Councilmember Ryan.
Excused.
Councilmember Vogely.
Excused, I think she's on her way.
Councilmember Zarlingo.
Here.
Councilmember Tui.
Here.
Councilmember Fossey.
Here.
Councilmember Schwab.
Here.
President Stonecipher.
Here, and I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I would like to ask Councilmember Zarlingo, will you please read the land acknowledgement?
This council wishes to acknowledge the original inhabitants of this place, the Stohopsh people, and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they've hunted, fished, gathered on, and taken care of these lands and waters. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and the water. We will strive to be honest about our past mistakes and bring about a future that includes their people, stories, and voices to form a more just and equitable society.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion for the approval of the minutes of June 15th, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
We have motion and a second. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
Councilmember Fossey.
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab.
Yes.
President Stonecipher.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mayor Franklin.
Yeah, good afternoon, council. Just a few things. First, a reminder that on Saturday, it's our Pride in the Park, our Everett Pride event. And it's going to be at Forest Park starting at 11 a.m. And I think it goes until 2 p.m. So it'll be a lot of fun. You can bring your family. We'll have some food trucks and some wonderful entertainment and just a celebration of Pride. And I also wanted to thank everyone who participated in the Clean Everett Day. It was our first Clean Everett. I got a lot of positive feedback. We had so many neighborhood groups that cleaned up their neighborhoods, and also just individuals that did it. I want to thank Rubatino, who helped out, and obviously I want to thank Nicole Weber, who led the charge for the city staff team. That was a great event. And then just now, right before I got here, I had the honor to be at the Boys and Girls Club at South Everett. And Comcast was there, and they gave new laptops to all of the kids. They're working on their digital equity campaign. They also gave $50,000 to the Boys and Girls Club, and it was just such a joy. So I just wanted to share that fun bit of news and great work that's happening in our community. And no further comment today. Thanks.
Thank you. Deb Williams, do we have anyone signed up to speak this afternoon?
Good afternoon, President Stonecipher. We have no one waiting to speak, and we have no written comment for today. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to council comments and liaison reports. We'll start with Councilmember Zarlingo. I'll come back to you, Councilmember Vogel.
Thank you. Last week, I chaired the first meeting of the Council's Infrastructure and Transportation Committee, joined by Council Members Schwab and Vogel. We had a briefing and a conversation with Public Works Director Ryan Sass and a member of his staff. Started by covering surface water issues, including reworking of the code to resolve inconsistencies and duplications, and to update that code to comply with new laws. We also had an initial discussion of project labor agreements and the experiences of various cities and contractors. We'll be doing more information gathering on these topics in anticipation of meeting again soon. Also, I attended the Cascade View neighborhood meeting, talking with neighborhood leaders about issues there, especially traffic and turning off and on of Everett Mall Way, a busy place, and we'll be looking to gather more local experience from them in the Twin Creeks neighborhood on the other side of Everett Mall Way. Connect that with the things we might do going forward to see if we can improve that situation some. We also discussed some summer neighborhood activities and connecting several of these South Everett neighborhoods to see if we can improve community member involvement and connections to local businesses. And tonight I'll get the chance to meet some of the people at the View Ridge Madison neighborhood and actually to go see Hannahbrook Park, where my daughter and I volunteered several years ago with Forterra on forest restoration. It'll be neat to see that place updated. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Vice President Tui.
I don't have any report tonight, but I just am, great news on Comcast donation of all those laptops. That's tremendous. I hope they're also supplying internet access for all the people that live there, so really happy for them. That's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Fosse.
Thank you. I just wanted to give a big congratulations to all of our recent student graduates. I know we've been having a lot of those ceremonies lately, and so congratulations. It's a big feat. And I hope everybody had a lot of fun this weekend celebrating Juneteenth and Father's Day. So happy celebration with that. And I know that I'm looking forward to this next weekend for celebrating our Sunoco Pride. I'm going to be there. I'm looking forward to the music and the kids' activities. I'll be bringing the family. I wanted to also make note, last night at the Delta Neighborhood Association, we talked briefly about Shakespeare in the Park, which is coming up on the 30th, so Saturday, July 30th. After you get done at Nubian Jam, make sure to head over to Wiggums Hollow Park, and they are going to be performing Midsummer Night's Dream. At 4 is when Everett Improv will be on the stage, and then the Shack Art Center is also having some kid puppet making, and there's always a lot of fun activities, and it's good fun for the whole family. So just wanted to share that, and that's all I have for today.
Thank you. Councilmember Schwab.
Yeah, no comment tonight, thank you.
Thank you. I'll go back to Councilmember Vogel.
Please excuse my tardiness. I am here now and no comments today. Thanks.
Thank you. And I have a couple of things. I was able to attend the Northwest Neighborhood meeting last week. And one of the interesting, or was that earlier this week? I can't remember now. One of the interesting questions that they had to do with the mini grants. And so I think they were reporting that the mini grant dollar amounts that could be granted is declining or has declined. And so I just would love to get some information from administration about where we've gone with mini grants. I know that when our neighborhood, sort of the administrative role went away, we continued on with the mini grants, but I just am not familiar with what's going on there. So maybe at our next meeting, we could get an update on that.
Yeah, we'll give you an update. It's budgeted basically as the way it's been spent each year, but I will make sure that we have an update from the team next week.
Thank you. And then I'll just announce the Budget and Finance Committee meeting is having a meeting at 2:30 today, and that will be online. So anybody who would like to see it, I think, could zoom in on that with us. And that's all I have. Do we have an update from administration?
No administrative update.
Thank you. And City Attorney Hall, thank you for, welcome back.
Thank you.
Do we have anything from you today?
No report and no executive session. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Let's move to our consent agenda, and we have 3 items on our consent agenda today. Do we have a motion for those 3 items?
Councilmember Tui moves the 3 consent items.
Seconded.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Vogel?
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo?
Yes.
Councilmember Tui?
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse?
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab?
Yes,
President Stonecipher?
Yes. As we move to our proposed action items, item 4 has already been read into the record, but I will read item 5 into the record today, and then I'll ask if there are any questions. Item 5 is Council Bill 2206-21. This is the first reading. Adopt the proposed ordinance creating a special improvement project entitled Water Pollution Control Facility Combined Conveyance Improvements, Fund 336, Program 032. The third and final reading on this item will be on July 6th. Do I have any questions on the 2 proposed action items? Seeing none, we'll move on to our action item today. Item 6, Council Bill 2206-19, third and final reading. Adopt the proposed ordinance creating a special improvement project entitled Lexington Drainage, Fund 336, Program 030. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I have a second.
Tui seconds the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second for item 6. Do I have any questions or comments? Seeing none, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Vogely?
Yes.
Councilmember Zarlingo?
Yes.
Councilmember Tui?
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse?
Yes.
Councilmember Schwab?
Yes.
President Stonecipher?
Yes. Now, on the council briefing agenda, these are items that come before the city council serving as a council committee of the whole and are likely to be scheduled at a future meeting. Item 7, adopt a resolution adopting the annual Transportation Improvement Program update for 2023 to 2028. The action and public hearing will be on the 29th of June. And good evening.
So I'm Richard Terry with Public
Richard,
Works.
thank you.
I'm presenting the annual update to the 6-year Transportation Improvement Program. This is required by the state. It is, before you, it is a list of all the projects and all the phases of projects where the city may pursue any kind of funding or any construction phase or right-of-way phase or any equipment purchase in the process as far as related to transit equipment purchases as it relates to that phase of transportation funding over the next 6 years. This list is not financially constrained. If you were to total up all of the projects on the list, it is around $5 billion worth of things. And so if you look at the list, you'll see that everything is in columns and separated by categories. It has numbers attached to it. The numbers are not prioritized. It is numbered in order to remain sorted. It's so that we can find the project and be able to talk about it. So I can say on column 1, under major arterials, project number 3, and then we can find it on a list. And if there's a map, we can then find the map. And so it has nothing to do with saying this project number 6 or number 12 is in some sort of prioritized order. It's just on the list. The list comes from the transportation element of the comprehensive plan. It's built from that. It's actually by reference and appendices to the transportation element of the comprehensive plan. And so this list comes before you every year, and there are some changes to it every year, which I highlight in bold. So the bold projects, the new projects this year, are the Marshland Bridge Replacement Project, which is a bridge that is out on the Lowell-Snohomish River Road. The North Broadway Pedestrian Bridge, and the 75th Street Southwest Bicycle Pedestrian Corridor. They all existed in the 6-year TIP, but in programs. So the bridge existed in the bridge rehabilitation program, but we needed to identify it more specifically because we sought funds from the state's and federal bridge program this year, and there's a requirement when you do that to have it named more specifically on your 6-year TIP. The same with the North Broadway Pedestrian Bridge. It received funds in the Move Ahead Washington package that the state just passed, although we don't know yet what year or what biennium those funds will be available, because the state legislature and the Washington State Department of Transportation are still determining which biennium funds will be made available for that project. And the 75th Street Southwest Bicycle Pedestrian Corridor, and that corridor is essentially from Seaway Boulevard to Hardison Road. It's where the hill climb is there as you approach Seaway Transit Center and the towers at the Boeing facility. That's the essential area of that project. Those are the areas, the new project. That is in the bicycle master plan, but we needed to break it out and name it specifically because we've sought federal funds, and it will be on the contingency list for federal funds as we move forward through the federal funding process this year. And the other area that is highlighted in bold that is new is with the transit is the vehicle purchases. And that is because every year we need to refresh that list. So it says vehicle purchases or vehicle replacement from 2023 to 2028. And as they do their replacement cycles, they make changes to that. And that's a requirement of the FTA, that you always list out what your future plans are for vehicle replacements, and especially as they seek funding, replacing or moving the fleet from diesel to electric. And so that's one of the requirements. And those are the only changes in the list. This year, there are no changes or no removals from the list because none of the projects that are on the list have been accepted as complete by council, which is a process we go through as we close out ordinances and close out projects that we complete as we end projects as Public Works comes before you. You don't normally see me in that role. You'll see Ryan here doing those processes. And so that's where we're at with that. And as a reminder, it's just sort of the normal flow of projects that we go through. I keep a 6-year average of kind of how much construction we do and what flows from this list. We do about $10 million worth of transportation-related construction a year. That's where our average is for the last 6 years. And looking forward, we're attempting to continue and maintain that level of investment in transportation. So the Transportation Advisory Committee in their May meeting recommended approval, and last night at Planning Commission they passed, I don't remember the number, Planning Commission resolution that recommend approval of this resolution as well.
Great.
So are there any questions?
Thank you. Let's see if we have any questions for Richard, starting with Councilmember Vogely.
It's not actually a question, but I did want to wait on comment to say, yes, the Transportation Advisory Committee really gives Richard a run for his money when he is explaining to us all the ins and outs of the tip. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Zarlingo?
Just one question. There are numbers attached, of course, to these. Are they at this stage estimates, not a commitment, and then they are revised when those projects come forward?
Yes, so they are estimates made at the time that the project starts as an idea. So they're in the neighborhood of what would be called less than 5% design. And so they, some of them are estimates done when they started on the transportation element, maybe as long as 20 years ago. And so they are adjusted every maybe 4 to 5 years for inflation. These currently haven't been adjusted for what we're currently going through with inflation because we don't know exactly where that's going to go right now. And also because next year we'll be doing the comprehensive plan update, and the transportation element will be updated as well, so that the list will be looked at again as to what the transportation needs for Everett are in the future. And so those numbers as well as the project list will be refreshed again. And so that's the time. And because it's a financially unconstrained list, it really, to get into the numbers and tweak it a few $100,000 when you're close to $5 billion, it really doesn't make a difference on the list. And each of the projects, when they come before you, once we get funded and we come before you, the time when you see it, when it actually has money attached, is when the plans and systems ordinance come before you, and it shows you specifically what funds are before you being committed, where there's state fund grants, federal funds, and local funds at that particular phase of the project.
Okay, great. And that will often be a combination of those state and federal and local funds, it sounds like, from some of the ones I've seen.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Tui.
Yeah, no, I don't have any questions. I've seen this before, and I think it's such a comprehensive list. Thank you for monitoring our whole city like you do. So anyway, thank you.
Councilmember Fosse.
Could you briefly go over the process for how these projects get onto this list and then reasons why they may be removed from the list?
Typically, they're removed from the list when they're completed. That's the most common reason for coming off the list, when the project has been completed. Or the project has, for whatever reason, the goal has changed from the perspective of the city plans. So it may be something that was planned to be an area where that particular transportation idea no longer works, whether that's there's no longer a need to put in that particular street arterial, highway improvement, bridge, maybe a bikeway. That's rare, but it can occur. It may be because we've tried to get funding more than 5 or 6 times and there's been no success in getting funding, and a different method or approach is sought, and so it goes back into discussion when the transportation element is refreshed. And usually when we do the transportation element update, a consultant is brought in, and so it starts at the level of all of the modes of transportation that will be required in the future within the city. And so they take a look at that and then say, what are the levels of service that are needed to do whatever is required in the future? So if the population of the city is going to grow by a certain number, what are the requirements that the city will need to be a fully functioning transportation, from the transportation perspective? And so what are the needs? And then those needs build out to a higher level list of projects, and then that filters to this list of projects. And so when the transportation element is, sort of comes out of that process to this 6-year TIP list, it is possible that something is no longer necessary that maybe was thought of as a good idea 20 years ago, because that's a 30-year lookout list. And so it informs the list that you have for the region, which are the regional transportation lists and regional transportation programs. So Transportation 2050 is something that builds off, and some of the projects that are on our local transportation improvement program are built into that, or at least are complementary to it. And so if changes are made there, then changes will trickle down into this list. And so it's just sort of a complementary piece. And so some of that can change. Some of it comes off the list because, like I said, other means have been found to achieve the same goal.
Thank you.
Councilmember Schwab.
Yeah, quick question. I noticed that the infrastructure for EV for the buses, transit were on here. An EV infrastructure plan for regular cars, is that part of the scope? Will that fit into the scope as far as the transportation plan?
It fits in there. We don't have it specifically called out because there right now aren't specific projects that we can do in specific places yet, where we can say this is something that we can get grant funding specifically to a specific point for. We have, I have been evaluating over the last several years different places and different ways to look at that. One of the issues so far in what we've been looking at is, and when we talk about electric vehicles from the public works perspective, is conversion of a fleet for the city. It's transit buses are one thing, heavy equipment is a completely different process, and that's one of our issues is where is public works going to be located before we start planting other infrastructure in the ground. And so that's kind of part of that process.
Thank you.
That makes sense. And my question, Richard, it really has to do with the North Broadway Pedestrian Bridge. So I know that the college has been expanding over in that area, but there was a project recently where they were trying to get some land adjacent to that, and it wasn't successful. So as we think about the college maybe not being centrally located in that area, does that pedestrian overpass still make sense in that part of our community?
Well, this is funded by the state now, so they're going to be awarding I don't remember the exact number, but essentially they're funding almost the entire project.
Okay.
And so there will be funds to put a pedestrian overpass there. It is intended to be complementary to the college, but it is a public structure. It wasn't intended to it's intended to benefit the amount of pedestrians that would be around a community college and the other college and other uses that are up there, but it's not intended to be solely for students and no one else. It is a public structure.
Okay, so most of it it would be mostly funded through state funds. What kind of matching would the city be?
The matching would be whatever it will cost whenever it gets constructed, and that's always the issue with when you get the funds as to when you actually spend the funds and go to construction, what costs are at that point, and what design decisions are made.
Okay.
I mean, at this point, it's in, there aren't any designs to the point where you would have real confidence in a final construction budget.
Okay, but it is an allocation at this point in the moving
Correct.
forward
Yeah.
Washington budget?
Yes.
Okay, great.
President Stonecipher?
Thank you.
Just to the pedestrian bridge in that part of the city, the colleges, as Richard Terry was saying, is one thing, but Everett Community College is now on both sides of the street. So regardless, the college system definitely could benefit from pedestrian overpass with the number of students crossing to go to the library on the other side of the street now, which is opposite from the rest of the campus. So that alone, and that whole property there is owned by Everett Community College, so that regardless of where WSU ends up locating forever and ever, Everett Community College will be on both sides of Broadway. And then, as Richard Terry was saying, there's so many, it's such a densely populated area of our city and also kind of ripe for growth. So that type of busy intersection is going to need safer crossings at some point.
Yeah, no,
So,
I live up there, and certainly you
Yeah.
see a lot of,
Yeah.
if there's pedestrian traffic on that
Exactly.
main arterial out of our community, that would be it could be
Yeah.
a mess, so that makes a lot of sense. No other questions? So this is coming forward next week for the public hearing and final approval.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to the end of our agenda with no further business and no executive session. We are now adjourned.